Marijuana to be banned for recreational purposes and alcohol advertising to be allowed. That and much more today on the Pattaya News Weekly Recap. What's popping in Pattaya? Hey, everybody, I'm Adam Judd. This is the Pattaya News. As always, thank you for tuning in with us. Now, today is January 12th, 2024. Last week, we kind of recapped, well, we didn't really recap anything at all. We talked about what's in store for this year. And a couple of the topics that we stated were in store, lo and behold, in the past week alone, officials are already getting a head start on some of these issues, with the biggest one, of course, which is coming up in a moment, being marijuana, which we predicted was going to be a major battle this year and is already shaping up to be so. However, another thing that we'll talk about near the end of this particular video is changes to Jomtien Beach, which have also now been announced, and we'll tell you a little bit about that coming up in a moment. But first, we'd like to ask you to like, subscribe, and follow for regular updates here from Pattaya, Chonburi, and Thailand. Now, first up, and we're doing this off the top of my head today, is marijuana. Now, in 2022, marijuana was decriminalized in Thailand. And it was decriminalized rather suddenly. When it was decriminalized, it was originally meant to be for medical purposes, which was allowed on a limited basis since 2018. The thing is, they really didn't get all the laws and regulation done at the same time that they decriminalized it. They originally thought that they'd be able to get this all through in a few months. But once it was decriminalized, well, that's when all the controversy and all the battles between people with polarizing viewpoints. One side, for instance, wants it pretty much banned entirely, except very strictly medical, with only hospitals and qualified doctors giving it out. And the other side pretty much wants recreational cafes and people to be able to use it in the privacy of their own homes and to grow on their own without any sort of licenses. And obviously those two groups are so polar opposite, they'll never see eye to eye. So they've been fighting since 2022. Now, obviously the government changed last year, including the health minister that had actually been the champion of this marijuana program, Anutin Charnvirakul. Now, Anutin is now actually, he was basically promoted to the Minister of the Interior, which is a powerful position, but doesn't oversee marijuana legislation. That's the new health minister. And the health minister had stated when he went into the position that one of his top goals was to basically crack down on marijuana because he said it was, without giving evidence, that it was a threat to the youth of the nation and that he wanted it cracked down for only medical use. Of course, in this time, a huge cannabis industry has popped up with now thousands, estimated over 6,000 shops, with many of them here in Pattaya, Bangkok, Chiang Mai, and Phuket. Of course, the tourist entertainment zones. And the industry has absolutely exploded and is expected in the next few years to be a $1.2 billion industry, unless they really crack down on it. So, now that we've given you the background, well, what's being proposed? What's being proposed is essentially to crack down on all recreational use. A new draft law, just a proposal. There was some false news that he had signed it, it was going to go into law. Absolutely not. This was just a proposal. It has to go through Parliament. It has to go through Cabinet. It has to go through all the bells and whistles in order to become law. But the proposal stated that essentially recreational would be banned. And not only would it be banned, if you were caught using marijuana recreationally, and exactly what is recreational could be at the discretion of a police officer. Think about that one for a moment. But if you're caught doing it, what's the fine? 60,000 baht. It's not criminal, so you wouldn't go to jail because it's not a narcotic again, but 2,000 US dollars almost if you're caught recreational. And it's reminding a lot of people around vaping. And vaping, if anybody's kept an eye on, and the rules around that have banned it and very high fines, became a temptation to corrupt police officers and was primarily used for extortion for many foreigners and tourists until last year a Chinese, actually I believe a Hong Kong, YouTuber became famous for the fact that she exposed being extorted for vaping while in Thailand. And they pretty much shut that process down. So there's lots and lots and lots of concerns around these proposals to ban recreational cannabis. Now, originally, the cannabis industry and pro-cannabis activists all stated that they wanted to be part of this discussion. They claimed that the health minister did not allow them to give their thoughts on this so-called final draft that would go to Cabinet and Parliament. Well, now the health minister has taken a step back, and from today, the 12th, until the 23rd, This draft is available for public opinion, especially including the cannabis industry, to add their proposals, opinions, and thoughts and see whether or not there'll be changes to it. Now, again, their biggest concerns are the recreational ban. They're not saying they want people doing it recreationally, but what they don't want is grandma or grandpa being raided in a rural village for having one plant at home, and also for it to be taken out of the small business sector and only controlled by, say, big pharma or the big medical facilities. Anyways, bottom line is nothing's changing right away, so nobody should panic immediately at this moment. It's going to take months for all of this to be processed, possibly as early as Songkran, but still going to take months. And we'll continue to update you on this here. Now, what do you think? Do you think fining somebody 60,000 baht for having a little bit of marijuana at home in the privacy of your own house is reasonable? By the way, the marijuana, the pro folks have also called out the fact that that fine is higher than the fine for many other crimes that many people would consider worse, such as rape, assault, armed robbery. So does that, drunk driving. So does that make sense to you? Anyways, we'll let you comment on that. Our second big story is alcohol advertising. Now, at the same time that they're cracking down on recreational cannabis, the new Thai government is doing things to basically help the alcohol industry, which of course the cannabis industry is not happy about. Amongst other things, they've already expanded the nightlife hours in many entertainment zones. And on top of that now, they're talking about getting rid of, which almost everybody agrees needs to go, the 2 o'clock to 5 o'clock ban on selling alcohol nationwide. That's a 50-year-old law, and we're not going to get into why the law exists, as there's a lot of different stories and myths on it. But bottom line is they brought up the fact that, hey, let's finally get rid of this. That's currently in discussion. Also, they're talking about removing some of the strict alcohol advertising laws in Thailand. Alcohol's advertising laws are so strict that, technically speaking, even taking a picture on your social media of you holding a beer and showing the brand label could get you a 50,000 baht fine. And that's been used in the past, but mostly to target specific individuals and celebrities, at least according to the activists. Now, that's currently in Parliament and currently being debated. Will we see changes? In terms of advertising, that is a sensitive area, and the anti-alcohol groups and groups that are rallied around anti-drunk driving, etc., are strongly against allowing any sort of advertising, even specifically for adults. But, of course, the pro group has called out the fact that Thailand's looking to finally break the duopoly of only a few big companies that sell alcohol and expand a lot of so-called soft power Thai alcohol beverages, Thai craft beer. And that failed by 1 vote last year, but is going to go up for vote again in the near future and is likely to pass. If that passes, they brought up the fact that how do these people promote their beer if they're absolutely not allowed to even advertise to an adult of legal buying age? So these are probably going to pass, but it may take some time. Meanwhile, the cannabis activists are going to point loud and strong at the fact that we're expanding the alcohol industry, but cracking down on cannabis. Last but not least, Jomtien Beach. I promised I would mention this. Jomtien Beach, I stated last week that they had plans on making the road one-way. That's now been officially announced. This is for road construction efforts, installing drain pipes in the area, as well as some sidewalk work, and will be done in 4 sections on Jomtien Road starting in March. While they do these sections, the road will be made one way. This is not a permanent change, but during the construction, but it is absolutely certain to cause major traffic issues. As for when they will actually fill in the sand on the latter half of the beach towards Dongtan Beach and expand it like they did at Nha Jomtien Beach, that has not yet been planned, and these are 2 separate projects. This specific project that will make the road one way is, again, because of drainage work. As always, guys, we thank you so much for tuning in. We love to hear your comments. We love to hear what you think, so tell us. Until next time, have a great week, and we hope your new year has been absolutely spectacular.